What's up, guys? It's your boy, the essential John L. Crossfire, aka the real main event, aka the Rogue Soldier, and today you're about to learn firsthand just what it's like to be caught in the crossfire. But above all else, prepare yourself, because in this very moment, today, right now, you are about to be caught in conversation. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 20 of the podcast. You've just heard the new intro. Hooray for better sound quality. And with me today for this very special Q&A episode, I have the most beautiful co-host I've ever seen. It's Mrs. Crossfire. How are you today, my love?
Good, thanks. Hello, everyone.
So, we've just watched the season finale to Heels. I don't know how to feel, but I'm also wanting more. But at the same time, the way it did end kind of gave closure, but it was just wild from start to finish. Now, without talking about spoilers, because, you know, we don't want to spoil it, but from a wrestling fan's perspective, once it got to like the last 5 minutes, I think you and I pretty much called everything that was going to happen, but it still was executed so well. Like, if you want to put it in wrestling terms, it was booked to perfection. Like, how are you feeling after like that ending? Because I know you and I were both just losing our shit. Like we said this on the last episode you're on, it's almost like we were watching an actual wrestling show. Like, we were just fucking marking out.
Yeah, it was really good. I liked how it finished. I'm hoping there's more, like, and that's just me kind of like, as a fan of the show, hoping there's more, but it was a nice, like, little tie-up ending.
100%. Like, I'm the same. Like, I want more, but that finish did give closure. And again, without saying spoilers, but we kind of called it. We said in episode 18 when you were on as my first co-host that Crystal was going to be the breakout star.
Yeah.
And here we fucking are. All, you know, they had all of the callbacks, you know, they wrapped it all up. And again, I can't remember the actress's name, rather. She's doing such a great job, and I've never seen her in anything else, so this could be like a breakout role for her in real life as well, I feel.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Anyway, over on Raw, it was kind of iffy. There's a lot of things I didn't take notes on. Like, the last few weeks have been really good, and this one was kind of meh.
Yeah.
But Xavier Woods and Ricochet, for a TV match, had a really good match in the opening round of the King of the Ring tournaments. Xavier Woods advanced. I swear to God, if they don't crown King Woods, I'm going to lose my shit. But that's just me.
Marky Mark over here.
RK Bro, though, like, their segments.
Yes.
Like, so many people, like, and you've noticed this as well, on you know, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, fucking whatever, they're saying, like, how bad Riddle's character is on the main roster compared to NXT, but I'm loving it. Like,
I think it's pure fire.
Him and Randy Orton, like, maybe it's just our humor, like, it's kind of juvenile, but it's fucking great. And Randy Orton, you can tell every time that he's actually struggling within himself to keep a straight face, which makes it so much better, because Riddle's actually, like, busting his balls.
Yeah, I think it's good.
And then Shayna Baszler, she's someone that coming into this, you weren't a big fan of, but you're kind of starting to get behind her a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know, like, I felt at the start, like, she's got that MMA background, but just wrestling-wise, she just seemed a little bit reckless, like, she was a little bit rough, and I think it's that MMA background, but it's just, she just seemed a little bit rough and reckless, but I feel like she's starting to really hone that in now.
Yeah, well, like, you know, she did have a small time on the indies, unlike other people that have come into the business.
Yeah, for sure.
But she was still relatively green, and I think that showed through. Like, you know, they're like, go out there and, you know, be this powerhouse, dominate people, throw them around. It's like,
I will legit throw them around.
You know, she's just doing what she's on. But as you know, it's like she's honed it in a lot. And again, like Dana Brooke, who she faced this week to advance, obviously, I'm referring to, she defeated Shannon Brooke. They actually, like, it was a squash match, but there was nothing in there that I could pick apart. And Dana Brooke's another one who, she actually just had a feud with Corey Graves because he basically said that, you know, she hasn't reached her potential. And I don't take that as an insult, because she really hasn't. But she's another one that she was very green, and she's finally starting to come into her own. So hopefully she gets another, a bit of a push soon to come as well. But Shayna Baszler advanced in the Queen's Crown tournament. Charlotte Flair, though, again, as I said, there was a lot of things that were mad that I didn't mention, but Charlotte Flair's promos have been something that, although I'm not a fan, I have praised her on. And the one this week, though, was just...
a bit lackluster.
I literally wrote Charlotte Flair promo. Meh.
Yeah.
That's literally what I've written here, and it disappointed me a little bit.
Yeah.
I expected more, and then it was just basically insert generic heel quote here, blah, 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 woo, fucking whatever. It just didn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
Omos, I'm going to butcher this until the end of fucking time. Destroying Riddle. AJ Styles was RKO'd. Pretty standard, but they're hyping up that match at Crown Jewel, which I'm expecting to be good. The last one that they had at, where did they win the title? SummerSlam? Was actually pretty good. Omos is another one. He's a big guy. He's green. But being, working alongside AJ Styles and across from a guy like Randy Orton, he's learning the ropes, so to speak.
Yeah, yep.
He's definitely improved, though. Big pop, though, for Big E and Drew McIntyre doing the Mega Powers handshake. It was so fucking stupid and so left field, but this is something that myself and Nick Maltino, we've done so many times. Of course, it's a reference to Hulk Hogan and Macho Man. They didn't like each other, and it took a month or so for them to finally shake hands, and it just got closer and closer, and then it just became a thing, and so many people have, imitated it since then, but I just liked that little touch of comedy, because both men, at their core, are massive, they're fans, and Drew himself, of course, specifically a massive Hulk Hogan fan, so I liked, as random as it was, I just liked that little callback that shows that, hey, you can be a wrestler and still, you can still be a fucking mark, basically. That Austin Theory defeated Jeff Hardy fairly quickly, and it kind of made me mad because you and I were both looking forward to this match, and all of a sudden it's insert 24/7 title picture here. Now, I defended Jeff Hardy being in the 24/7 title picture that one week because it was they went for a dive to the outside. They needed someone to catch them. Jeff Hardy knows how to catch people. So I was fine, they threw a veteran out there, that's whatever.
Veteran. Yeah.
And then they did. They moved on. They went and did other stuff. They've been in separate segments, and then all of a sudden this week it's just we've got this really good match. Let's have the 24/7 title picture interrupted. No, I understand comedy, but it just left a bad taste in my mouth because I was really looking forward to this match, especially after last week's tease of Willow.
Yeah.
And then they did, tease potential, another potential match between these two down the line, though, with Theory, using the tights. So he didn't exactly get a very, clean win. So hopefully with the dirty pin that can set up something else. But the 24/7 title being introduced in this match of all matches just left a bad taste in my mouth, especially when you've got someone like Theory who you're trying to build up. It just would have done more to get a victory over Jeff Hardy. You still could have done the dirty pin, that's fine, but if they had have had a proper match, it's he's hung in there with a literal, living legend in the business.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of like what they're doing with Theory at the moment, where they're doing that gimmicky kind of just run around taking photos with people and stuff and putting them back on Instagram. It's great.
the drive,
cheesy as anything,
the drive-by fucking selfie that he took later on in the show with Big E was just great. And Big E sold that as well, because I don't know if you've seen the actual photo, but Big E had his eyes closed during the photo. It was just it's great. Theory's he doesn't care, the WWE champion, and then the actual champion's just this fucking kid.
It's kind of giving me that Tennille Dashwood kind of vibe with Kelly with a K, running around taking photos and stuff.
Yes, very much so. Bianca Belair's promo, though, much better than whatever the fuck that was with Charlotte Flair. Bianca's promos, I think, on a weekly basis, they're just getting better and better.
Yeah.
Jinder Mahal advanced in the King of the Ring tournament. He defeated Kofi Kingston. Now, I appreciate the fact that they swerved us. Not one single person can say that they saw that coming. And be honest, let's face it. But I actually am a fan of Jinder Mahal. I actually did mark out when he won the championship in 2017. But why the fuck did they tease and tease and tease and tease that we were going to get Woods versus Kofi?
I needed that match. I wanted that.
Now, the only way I can see this going is, either Woods does eventually win and he loses his shit, or, he loses next week and loses his shit. Like, somehow, eventually, I feel like the New Day are going to break up this year at least. If not next year, like maybe a triple threat between all three of them at WrestleMania could even work. But it just doesn't make sense yet. And I guess let it play out and see what happens this week. But what the fuck?
See, if we get King Woods, I'm wondering if it's going to be like a diva-y kind of moment where he's like this diva and Kofi can't put up with it anymore and he's just over it and he turns heel on him. Or maybe that Kofi becomes heel and he's this heel diva that's just like, I'm the king, so I do this and I do that. And then Kofi's just like, dude, I'm done. No one should have to put up with this.
It could almost be like
dynamic.
like a servant kind of thing where Kofi becomes the massive babyface again because Woods gets absorbed by power, and then Kofi's like, okay, whatever, like, sure, I'll do this. Like, because he's a friend. It's like Woods is like, hey, eventually it starts off with Woods is like, can you do this? Can you do that? And Kofi's like, sure, bro, like, whatever. But then it comes to the point where Woods is looking at Kofi as a servant and Kofi's like, fuck this shit, I'm out. And it's like, yeah. Like, stand up, like, you don't deserve that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I think eventually we will get it, but it just, as of now, makes no fucking sense. I did love, though, how Woods and Kofi kept dodging the question throughout the night.
Yeah.
When they were asked multiple times. And it's just
a little tease.
It's like, what's going to happen if you face each other? And then, before, I can't remember whose match was first, but then before the other match, it was like, what's going to happen? And they're just like, oh, that's our music. We've got to go. So, in a way, because they dodged the question, it makes me a little less mad.
Yeah.
The Jinder one, because it's like, well, at least they didn't fully play into it. Like, they did, but they didn't with their actions. But
yeah,
we were meant to have a tag team match after Becky Lynch cut a great promo. She just went fucking straight savage on Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair, and Sasha Banks. Big Time Bex, rather, and Becky Lynch. She gives no fucks. Like, this is the best Becky Lynch we've ever had. Like, this is better than, like, all the man stuff when she was at her height with Ronda Rousey. Like, this is great.
Yeah, this is like, heel Becky is just, it's the shit.
It's just the same as, like, heel Sami Zayn now. Like, it's like, I didn't think they could pull it off. But now that they're there, it's like, let Becky Lynch be Big Time Bex for the rest of her career.
Yeah.
Like, this is honestly such good shit. It's such good shit, pal. Damn it. They were meant to have a tag match. It was meant to be Becky and Charlotte pitted against Sasha and Bianca. Or Bianca, sorry.
Bianca.
But all four women just went, fuck this. They were brawling amongst themselves, with each other, with their own partners. And then Big Daddy DeVille, Sonya Deville comes out with Scrap Iron, Adam Pearce, and they're like, no, you're going to have this match. You're going to be professional. And then we go to the 1,000th commercial break that was in this show. Come back from commercial, the match is already on the way. But then they all just started fucking fighting again. And it was like, we're so confused by this because it's like, it's looking almost like Charlotte's going to be added to the triple threat, making it a fatal four-way with, both titles potentially on the line. So that does interest me. But it was a nice way to build up the triple threat, though. Like, all three women in the match, and of course all four women, if you factor in Charlotte, are just like, fuck this, and they just kept going for it.
Yep.
And then we went back to the Queen's Crown tournament. Doudrop defeated Natalya. This made me sad because I actually wanted Natty to be the first one, like the first ever Queen of the Ring or Queen's Crown winner, because she's been in there for so long, and she had the first ever, tables match for the women, but I don't even like counting that because they made the big deal of having the big fucking pink table with the pin-ups and stuff, and it was like, just to drive home the fact that this is a female match. Like, I'm all for women empowerment, as are you, but that was kind of just like, oh, we're divas, we're doing men stuff, but then they painted it pink just to make it feminine, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like something like this would have been such a big notch in the cap of Natty's career. And then to factor in both her Uncle Owen and her Uncle Brett have been kings of the ring. And it's a nice little, thing, not only for her, but for the entire Hart family legacy.
Yeah. And I feel like, as well, she kind of is the queen, really. Like, you look at it, like, everyone goes to her for advice. And, like, especially, like, the greener, like, female wrestlers are kind of just like, Natty, should I do this? Should I do that? Like, she's kind of like someone for them to look up to.
She's almost like the wrestling mom of that locker room. Like, she is, in terms of the main roster women's division, there's no doubt about it. Natalya is head and shoulders the locker room leader, and no one comes close, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, she's like the female Undertaker, I'd say.
She really is, though. And there's going to be someone
leader
that listens to this like, Mrs. Crossfire compared Natalya to the Undertaker. Like, no.
That's not what I meant. I meant like the locker room leader guy vibes.
We know what fucking wrestling fans are like. But yeah, she's 100%. And I understand that, they've got to build up young talent. That young talent's going to be there next year and the year after and the year after. I don't want to say this as a slight to Natty, but her career, it's going to be over sooner than later.
Yeah, she's going to retire, then someone else is going to replace her and become the one that they all go to.
So it's like, imagine her being the first ever, right? She goes on this fucking tear. Next year, someone else wins it. And then the first two Queens of the Ring have a feud. Natalya loses, builds up, whoever she was against sort of thing. Yeah. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like it was, especially if you want to look at it from a business aspect, I feel like they really missed the boat on this one. I feel like Natalya winning this out of everyone at least everyone that was in the tournament, like obviously Alexa Bliss is away, she's getting married, whatever. Alexa Bliss is one that for a first time would have been good because she's the first woman to be both Raw and SmackDown Women's Champion, but Natalya, I feel was definitely almost the obvious choice, and maybe that's why they eliminated her in the first round.
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
I think the weird thing is, as I said before with Shayna, I think out of everyone that's left, she's kind of like the obvious choice to win. Like, she's the Queen of Spades. Why not pull the trigger? Like, as a mark, I kind of wouldn't mind seeing Zelina Vega get the win, but I feel like Shayna, now that Natalya's out, should almost get the win.
The Queen of Spades.
Like, drive that home.
Works.
And in the draft episode that we did, I said that Natalya's going to feud with Charlotte, and you agreed. Have Shayna win Queen of the Ring, goes over the SmackDown, and then she can challenge Charlotte to who's the real queen? Right?
Yeah, exactly. You're just the ace of spades. No, now I'm the queen of spades.
Like, I'm the actual queen of spades. It says right here, like, got this fancy little crown. And I feel like Shayna, in like a kind of ironic way, could actually pull off, like, if they were to do like a full outfit like they do with the King of the Ring, like I could see her with a hat, like with the crown and the scepter and the cape, and like being really cocky about it at the same time.
See, a lot of the time I thought she was stern and she had no charisma at all.
And then you see her outside the ring and she's just on fire.
It's not even just that. It's just you've seen more of her personality and that she's more charismatic when she was around Nia. Like, when they put them together, you kind of seen that funny side of her, and I'm like, this is great.
But I remember, like, the little clips she was in like Total Divas and stuff like that. Like, she's the life of the party, and it's like, I understand, portraying this cold, hard killer character, but once you add that bit of personality, I feel that makes you even more of a killer, because it's like, you can go from fun-loving to the bell rings and I just snap your fucking arm, and it's like, oh, shit. Like...
Yeah, I mean, shit. Because, like, it's like Randy Orton. He's very stern and very serious, but, like, what's going on at the moment with Riddle? You're seeing a little bit of that funny, caring side of him, too.
And he did do a lot of that as well, though, when he was the Legend Killer. Like, he was this young, cocky little you know what, and now... he's just dark and brooding, and Riddle's like, Randy, come on, like, I know it's in there, Randy.
Yeah, it's the best.
But Mansoor and Ali had a confrontation backstage after they'd lost their match earlier in the night. That's all well and good. They're going to have a match at Crown Jewel. That's fine, right? Why did Ali have to attack Mansoor from behind and blah, 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 blah? Like, they were just getting their feet as a tag team. You have limited tag teams as it is, and then it's just typical WWE fashion, it's like, boom. Like, you and I were both literally looking at the TV just going, what the fuck?
Yeah, they were actually starting to work really well as a tag team too. I thought they were great. So it's kind of just like, why tear them apart?
I don't know how to say this without, coming across as, controversial, but they pushed Jinder Mahal to the moon when they toured India, right, as the WWE champion.
Yeah.
They're pushing Mansoor because they're going to Saudi Arabia, and it's like, he's a super fucking talented dude, right? He really is. But it's like, you could have had like another, they did the big tag team tournament that the Good Brothers won last time they were there. Why not do another one of those and have Mansoor and Ali win that to solidify them as a tag team, and then potentially even go on to be tag team champions? Like, I get it, not everyone can have the belt, and that's fine, but they just gelled so well as a tag team.
And I was just wondering too, like, I'm not sure, maybe Mansoor's been injured and this is him coming back, but they always seem to push him when Crown Jewel's coming up, but they leave him out the rest of the year. Like, he's actually really talented.
Well, there was that running joke that he had like the longest undefeated streak, and like he'd only had like 7 matches on like NXT or whatever.
Yeah.
But from like 2018 to like 2020, he'd had like 6 or 7 matches, whatever it was. Like I said, but he'd won every single one of them. So it's like he's on a 2-year like undefeated streak. Like it's like an internet joke. It's like forget Goldberg, forget Asuka. It's like Mansoor's the real like undefeated like champion sort of thing.
It's just like he disappeared. Like they push him only around this time, and I feel like that's not fair. He's still a very talented wrestler, and you're just pushing him every time Crown Jewel comes up.
I am looking forward to that match though. Like at the end of the day, like that's gonna be a fucking banger of a match. It really is.
They're both super talented, so it'll be good to see.
But Big E and Drew McIntyre in the main event of Raw, they had a lot of tension towards the end of their match with the Usos. They, much like the women earlier in the night, they started brawling. But rather than the match get thrown out, which realistically in wrestling rules it should have, but I get it, Big E was counted out due to him brawling with McIntyre. But then they took out the Usos, went back to brawling, and the show ends with Drew McIntyre hitting a Claymore on Big E standing tall. He had a nice little bruise on his head, though, did Drew McIntyre from one of those shots. But I'm torn because, like, I'm not like, the internet where it's like, fuck Drew McIntyre because they seem to turn on everyone as soon as they win the title. But
neckbeards, am I right?
I'm getting kind of sick of Drew in the title picture.
Yeah.
Like, I understand, Big E's a fighting champion and he come out and challenge you, but how many times can you challenge someone, lose the title, and then still be in the fucking title picture?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. You should have to earn your way back up again. And I know, like, he's been doing it for years. He deserved that title to begin with. But it's just, he keeps losing it and winning it. And then it's just like, then he's still there. He's still around. It's like, there's plenty of other talented wrestlers that should get the spot.
We were talking about this, though, and, like, I'm not going to be mad if Drew wins. Because, like, as we said, we had a little theory. It's like, Drew was drafted to SmackDown. It's like, well, if he wins the WWE Championship, can then Big E claim that, hey, with Drew McIntyre as the WWE Champion, that makes him a Raw superstar. Big E can then reunite with the New Day.
Exactly,
which could be a possibility. But that might not even happen. But I don't know how I feel about Drew McIntyre constantly being in title matches just over and over and over again.
Yeah, because that's going to make people get sick of him too, because he's just around constantly.
And on top of that, he's out here acting like John Crossfire with those fucking radiation kicks. But yeah, over on NXT, Legado del Fantasma, of course, Santos Escobar's group, kidnapped Hit Row to start the show. Like, they said they were being more adult, and they weren't kidding. Like, they're just fucking into the black van, drag him away. Whatever, that's fine, leaving Swerve to defend his championship by himself later in the night. Still loving the hell out of Joe Gacy's new gimmick. It's
too good.
Very controversial, throwing out the word snowflakes and stuff like that, but I dig it. I really do. I dig it.
I don't know why, but he gives me a young, like, Kevin Owens vibes.
You say that every time.
Every time he's mentioned or I see him, I'm like...
It's like, oh, here we go.
Young KO.
You're like KO 2.0 versus Tommaso Ciampa.
He literally just seems like it, though. Like, he kind of looks like him. Some of the promos, I'm like, they're fucking good. And I'm just like, he does his research for sure.
But after Gacy was defeated by Tommaso Ciampa was just fucking bum rushed by by Haaland, of course, the former Parker Bordeaux. And then he turned his attention to Joe Gacy, and we got this really weird thing where while Haaland had hold of Gacy's throat, Gacy was like stroking his face, and I guess kind of tamed the beast. Like, I don't know, I guess this new gimmick's going to lead to some sort of like cult.
Yeah, I was thinking like a cult messiah kind of vibe. That's what it's kind of given me.
That is a gimmick that in wrestling has been well overdone.
Yeah.
But as I say, like, I'm loving the way that Gacy is portraying this gimmick, and I feel like it just might work.
Yeah, he's kind of giving me, so, like, this is going into, like, Walking Dead, like, vibes, but, like, the Terminus, and they were, like, a hippie kind of, like, group, and they were, like, you know, getting protected from zombies and stuff like that. Like, this is going off track a little bit, but, like, he was giving me the Terminus leader vibes. Like, it seems very hippie, like he's got, like, the peace sign and stuff going on, and it's just, like, that hippie cult leader vibe. And if it's done well, it'll be fantastic.
You know, I think the most famous one, you know, has to be the Wyatt family, right? Like, at least in modern times, and Bray, being the fucking genius that he is, he took a lot of, you know, inspiration from shows like The Walking Dead and Dexter and, you know, even True Blood, I think he mentioned at some point. Matt Hardy mentioned True Blood as well.
The Far Cry games, some of the, like, you know, cult leaders that are in those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude.
And then it's like, I think a guy like Gacy, with the way he's portraying this gimmick, and because he's been more of a psychopath kind of character on the indies. So if, not to rip it off, but if he can almost do like a Bray Wyatt fiend type thing where like he's channeling it, I think this could be a success.
And even like now, NXT is supposed to be becoming more adult. Charles Manson, like that's another big one that Bray subtly took inspiration from. He couldn't take too much because, you know, you don't want to go too overboard. But I think, again, new NXT, you know, new look, new roster. Haaland, you know, he was an amateur wrestling. He was an amateur wrestler, much like Brock Lesnar, which is why it was funny that they looked similar before the new makeover. But I think him, with not having experience in wrestling, being now on screen with this new gimmick, but again, much like I said before with Amos, with AJ and Randy Orton and stuff, he's kind of got that tutelage of Gacy, who he is a veteran in his own right. He's just not had much TV exposure. But I think with this new gimmick, with, you know, Gacy by his side, they're priming Haaland to be possibly a big breakout star in NXT in the next couple of years as well. For sure, yeah.
But we got a mystery star coming, apparently, at Halloween Havoc. They said they wanted to bury their past. I honestly have no idea who the hell this is going to be. Like, is it a former star that's returning? Is it someone from the main roster that's coming back? Is it a rebrand of a current NXT star? Like, I have no idea what's coming, but I'm intrigued just from that.
I'm excited to see who it is. Like, that vignette's kind of got me going, ooh, like,
and I think you're probably in the same boat. I hope I don't get myself too excited to the point where it's like,
it's just such and such, and they've been rebanded. They lost their name. Oh.
I don't know what the buttons do, so I was going to press the womp sound, but whatever. Toxic Attraction cut another promo stating that they're coming for the gold at Halloween Havoc. I enjoyed this promo. Like, they're getting better, but you kind of were like, fuck these guys. Like,
oh no, well, I think that Mandy's promos have got a lot better, and I liked Priscilla Kelly's character.
Gigi.
Yeah, Gigi Dolan, I think her name is. Hers have been really good, but it's just like that JC chick. I don't know. I just feel like she lets the team down a little bit.
She's both so annoying yet doing such a good job at the same time. It's like, I don't know, is it just her character? Like, is there something about her? Like,
I think it's just her promo skills. I was feeling they weren't as good as the others. I just felt like they let it down a little bit.
It's funny because in recent weeks, her promos have been like a lot better than Gigi's have. But this week, it just kind of... It just kind of flipped. Like, I don't know if it's that she's trying too hard with the delivery of being like an evil, like darker type character, or what it is.
That's how I was feeling. Like, she's just trying really hard. Like, it's a little too hard, and it's kind of just putting me off. And like, yeah, some of Gigi's have been not as good either. But I just feel like hers have started to
this week
mesh
and,
well
and
and
last
get better.
week, she's found her footing, I think.
Yeah, she meshes really well with Mandy, where I was feeling, JC's kind of a bit on the outer. But, she has got better than the last, couple of weeks. Like, the early weeks, JC's were just trash. But I feel like she is getting better. But lately, she's just kind of been putting me off a bit. I don't know. She's just got that face that's just like, oh.
So you can say this because you're a woman, but what you're saying is to you, she has a punchable face.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. She just has that really bitchy, high school girl that's always in the movies kind of face, and maybe that's putting me off. I don't know.
See, that's why I like
maybe she's being a good heel.
That's
I don't
why I
know.
like having you as a co-host, though, because everyone has a different perspective. We don't just have the same opinion, and I like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it leads to, as we've said on the last episode, it can sometimes lead to heavy debates, and your brother thinks we're arguing, and it's like, no, we're just talking wrestling. It's fine. Go back to your video games.
Go play your video games.
The Tommy Vexed cover of that is fucking sick, by the way.
I need to hear that.
But Zion Quinn, former Brisbane Bronco player Daniel Vidot, picked up another impressive win, this time against Malik Blade. I understand they're using him, to build other guys up, but there's something about Malik Blade in the last couple of weeks. I see a lot in him. He reminds me a lot of Carmelo Hayes, who we'll get on later on in this episode. But you actually compared him to a young Shelton Benjamin.
Yeah, he just gives me some of those Shelton Benjamin vibes, just the way he wrestles.
He's so fucking athletic, and it's he's got such an impressive physique. It's this kid, if he applies himself, has potential to be something in this business.
Yeah, well, even Montez Ford, he gives me some of his vibes. He's very athletic. It's just he's just got something. Even Swerve, I'll even throw that out there.
He's
Swerve,
very
as well.
Swerve-esque. Yes.
Maybe even Chris Bay as well.
Oh, over in Impact, yes.
Yeah, over in Impact.
Chris Bay he is so much better for someone that his age should be. Yeah. But Zion Quinn picked up the win, but we're fanboying over Malik Blade. There's something there.
There's something
I
about
don't
him.
know what it is. Please give me more. NXT, they've taken it away. It's no longer main roster. They're basically viewing it, as not developmental per se, but as an alternative product. This is a perfect space, a safe space, as Joe Gacy would say, for him to grow.
Exactly, yeah. He's just got that star factor.
But Ivy Niles made her debut this week, and she has a great look. She has a great physique, but it just didn't do anything for me. Again, and it could be that, as we're saying before with Shayna Baszler, it could be that because she's so green and she's trying too hard, but she came across as a little bit reckless.
Yeah, I feel like she comes across very green and very reckless. And it's just because it's hard too, because it's just, she reminds me of the girl from AEW. I can't think of
Layla Hirsch.
Yeah, Layla Hirsch. And I was just I feel like she's got that look and everything about her, but I feel like
she looks legit, which is funnily enough,
Layla
legit. Hirsch's, moniker.
Yeah.
She's legit Layla Hirsch. Ivy Niles does look legit, but there's just something.
There's something off. I think it's just, but with Layla Hirsch, she's executing perfectly. Some of her stuff, watching her wrestle, she really knows kind of what she's doing. Don't feel like she's as green as reckless, from what I've seen of her anyway. But
it's always been kind of the beauty of professional wrestling, though, is so many people will be like, oh, I'm not working with this person who's, X amount of years younger than me and has X amount of experience, and then you can kind of watch them in the ring, and sometimes the younger guy is going to be better. It's everyone develops different.
Yeah.
But that's why I like the idea of having Ivy Niles in the Diamond Mine, much like the Creed brothers.
Yeah.
I can't remember which of the Creed brothers had their match. I didn't actually write this as a note, but same thing. Was very impressive to a point, but at the same time, still a little bit reckless with some of the throws. But again, having them in the Diamond Mine with Malcolm Nivens as their mouthpiece, and then they're working with a guy like Roderick Strong, can do more do more good than harm, rather.
Yeah.
I was trying to
reverse
wish,
the
more harm than
I just
good.
wish too that they still had Marina and those there, before she got released.
We were actually talking about this while we were watching that.
Yeah.
Roddy's wife, for those that don't know, is Marina Shafir,
Yeah.
one of the 4 horsewomen of the MMA world. And it's like, maybe
She
even
could have helped
if
her a
she's
bit.
not in the actual group, she can help her behind the scenes kind of, hone in on certain aspects.
Because she has that aspect of she's amazing in MMA, and I'm sure, like, I don't know, this girl might have MMA background.
I've never
I'm not
seen her
100%
until
sure.
I wasn't familiar with Ivy Niles until she debuted a couple of weeks ago alongside of the Diamond Mine, and obviously this is her official in-ring debut. So she as I said, she can only go up from here, but wasn't overly impressed, and that's not a personal attack on the woman. It just
she's got a lot of learning to do.
For being on an actual television product, I was just expecting more.
Yeah, and I think it just, if Marina was around, I just feel like what I've seen in Marina is actually pretty good. She's got that MMA background, but Roddy's kind of helped her a bit with some of her wrestling stuff and how to hone that in, and I was like, she'd be a really good role model, for Thingo.
Yeah, absolutely. But speaking of teaching, the Andre Chase University segments...
Oh, yes.
Just, they remind me almost of like the 90s, and I say this specifically, but like the 90s Adam Sandler movies. Like they're so fucking cheesy and juvenile, and he's swearing for the sake of swearing, but the way that he delivers it in a comedic way, it's just tenfold. Like, one of the students was like, "Why did you do this? Like, isn't that technically cheating?" And he like throws the paperwork. He's like, "Fuck you! Like, get out of my classroom! How dare you!"
They've actually been really good.
Really good. I'm thoroughly enjoying Andre Chase. I hope to see more of him in the ring on NXT because the dude can work really well. But he's gonna get over by these segments alone.
For sure, yeah.
Speaking of segments, though, the Tony D'Angelo segment. Where he was complaining that, he asked for time on NXT and they said, sorry, we've got no time, and he's leaning against the car the entire time and he's just, talking. And then you realize that he's actually kidnapped the NXT producer, wink, wink. Like, that's great because it's like a fourth wall break at the same time, but then he's still getting his character over as like this kind of like almost mob boss. Like, the NXT universe wants to see Tony D'Angelo. Well, sorry, pal, we don't have that time for you, which is almost like a shot at wrestling in general. Like the amount of times it's like, oh, we've had to cut time because of this, and this, and he's like, his character is, he's like, fuck the rules. Like took the guy hostage basically, like locked him in the trunk so that he could cut his like promo. I really enjoyed that. Like the idea behind it and the execution of the promo itself was like we were losing our shit the entire time. Like it was hilarious.
It's good.
Touch of Aussie flavor on NXT this week though. We got Duke Hudson versus Grayson Waller, and then Duke got the Duke, if you will, after a handful of tights. Again, Duke finally getting some time to shine, but Grayson, it was a tainted victory, still remains strong, brother, but that fucking pop.
That's what I was going to say.
Like,
oh my God, he's so over.
Like, I was just kind of like,
fuck yeah.
And, it comes back to what we talked about last time, like, sex sells, but he's not doing it intentionally. It's just, he's a good-looking dude, and when his music hit, he come out on the stage, there was a lot of lady screams coming from that crowd, and it's like, fuck it, like, he is over.
Yeah. It just seemed, it's not even just the women, though. There was guys, like, yelling, like,
absolutely,
oh, yeah.
But it was very Roman Reigns type thing where he comes out and, he's good looking, so the women were like, yeah! And not all women, like, I know, like, much like yourself, women can be wrestling fans, but predominantly it's like he come out and they're like, yeah, because he's good looking, and then the dudes are like, fuck yeah, because he's a good wrestler.
Yeah.
It's like he's super over.
And see, it's like they've been watching him on like 205 Live and stuff, so they're getting familiar with him.
Yeah, well, it's the same crowd as well, because like they'll tape 205 Live, before NXT airs, and obviously 205 Live will air a couple of days later. But predominantly, like they were doing that, and a lot of the time being in that area, it's the same people in the crowd.
Yeah, for sure. So they're kind of used to him now, and they're like, this guy can wrestle, so. Yeah.
But yeah, just very much enjoyed that. Duke Hudson getting a little bit of a push with, the whole Duke's poker room stuff. I still say it reminds me of Johnny Swinger, but whatever. Grayson Waller still looking strong. And speaking of Aussie flavour on the same note, the Index stuff, still great as ever. We had just a quick little glimpse of Indy and Dexter Loomis backstage before Indy and Persia Pirotta making her NXT in-ring debut as a tag team. Very good stuff. They got the win. Persia was super impressive. I like that Indy kind of took the back seat, allowing, Steph to land or Persia to kind of get over who she is as a character, because she's been on TV for a few weeks now, maybe a month, but this is the first taste of in-reaction, so it's good to finally see her get that, because she had her tryout it was either 2018 or early 2019, and it was COVID that fucked all that up. She was meant to be in NXT last year.
But yeah, I'm so glad, because she's been over there for a bit now, but it's just kind of like
training sort of thing.
But she's they've moved her on TV pretty quick, and I think that's a smart decision, because what we saw, she didn't seize up at all. There was no greenness to her. I knew she's wrestled here in Australia and everything, and she's done it for quite a few years, but it was just
she's still so young though, and still relatively early in her career, and she's just a fucking natural, and it's
she belongs
it comes back to what
there.
we were saying. Some people adapt better than others, and whatever, the woman behind the character in Steph, she has something.
Yeah, even working the cameras, working the camera angles and everything, she's doing a great job.
Well, even the one-liners that she's delivered in backstage segments and stuff. She said something the other day, and she kind of grabbed her jacket, and it was very generic wrestler promo.
But she did it well.
But she just oozed it. It was I can't remember what she said, but yeah, she said something. She's grabbed the jacket and done kind of the flexes up the collar, and she's just yep, stands there, looks imposing.
Very Fonzie.
And she just looks the part. She plays the part. She is the part.
She's just natural. She belongs on the main roster already. That's what I'm saying anyway.
Fucking 100%. Indy was there for a little bit at the start of the pandemic when she was doing jobs. She was enhancement talent for Nia Jax. She should have been there from there, but they took her back to NXT, and we're all like, why? And now she's even more over, that's a win for her. But they picked up the win. They have challenged Io Shirai and Zoe Stark for the Women's Championship.
Oh man, I want them
Toxic
to win
Attraction
so much.
stuck their nose back in again.
Yeah.
We had a brawl. Seems to be leading to a triple threat tag match at Halloween Havoc. I'm going to be very surprised if we don't get that match at Halloween Havoc. But the question is, Io and Zoe, I feel, are definitely 100% losing the titles. But it's I don't know, because it's as a mark, I want it to be Indy and Persia, but even from a psychology standpoint, it's honestly
it feels like it's got to be Toxic
Attraction.
Attraction.
But at the same time, that's what I feel. I feel like there's almost, with the index stuff with Indy, it's almost 50-50. It's almost like we're guaranteed new champions, but which team is it going to be?
See, with me, I'm feeling like it might end up being Toxic Attraction, and then Mandy takes home the NXT title soon, and they get their wish of having the gold, but that's because they're really pushing that at the moment.
That's what ticks it for me as well. It's just because I feel like Mandy is going to dethrone Raquel, as much as I would like it to be someone like a Frankie or someone else, but at the same time, it's maybe that gets Mandy's character over more. If Persia and Indy win, they go do their thing, Mandy's mad because they couldn't get the job done. They're notorious for, as we've just documented, obviously, it's not the main roster, but it's still very much the same formula. Mandy gets mad because they failed. They split up and she feuds with them, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe they just basically become her lackeys even.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't know. I guarantee, I shouldn't say guarantee, but in my opinion, because, I don't have the book, I don't know what's going on, but I think in both of our minds at least, we're guaranteed that Io and Zoe are at least losing the championships at Halloween Havoc, if that's where it takes place. It could just be on NXT TV, but it's got to be a triple threat. It almost has to be at this point. What about the Cameron Grimes looking for love segments? I don't know if you were in the room when I was watching this. I think you were. Where Grayson Waller was
Grayson Waller was helping him. This is how Tinder works, kind of it was the Tinder app.
Yeah, it was he lost his match and everything, but because he has the accent, the Aussie accent, the girl was still all over him. And Cameron Grimes is like, "Hey, how'd you do that? You lost 20 minutes ago." And he's just like, "Mate, it's all in the game." And he's do you like blondes, redheads, blackheads, brunettes? And he's like, "What? There's more? What?" And then he's swiping through and he's losing his mind about the prospect, the aspect of the dating app. And it's his life in kayfabe has just been changed forever. It doesn't matter that he's rich or whatever. He had no idea about these dating apps, and it's just great.
I really liked it. It was super cheesy, but it was great.
And fun fact, for those not aware, dating apps, specifically Tinder, is actually how myself and Mrs. Crossfire met.
Yeah, we're getting married in a couple of weeks, so...
Push the right fucking button that time.
Romance!
Hell yes. Oh, call back to episode 18, a little romance.
Romance.
I was staying with Adrian Axton. Shout out to Adrian Axton. Little did I realise, the entire time, Mrs. Crossfire was right across the road.
Yeah, it's kind of sounds like I'm creeping on him, eh?
But the main event with Swerve and Santos Escobar was definitely the high point. Maybe we're just being marks, but it was a really good match. Swerve jump-started the match. Back and forth, back and forth. Eventually, Swerve would retain the championship after Carmelo and Trick Williams took out Legado del Fantasma. But just like expected, just like I actually said last week on episode 19, Carmelo Hayes attacked Swerve, cashed in his contract. Carmelo Hayes is the new NXT North American champion. Like,
yeah.
We said the first couple of times he came on as enhancement talent, we're like, this dude has something.
Yeah.
And within what, like 2, maybe 3 months, he's now the North American champion.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, this is good.
I just hope that they don't do the predictable route and have Trick turn on him and want the title, because the pairing of those two,
they work really
is
well.
so entertaining. Yeah. They just fucking.
I just hope they don't I just hope they don't Leon Rush it at the same time. Leon Ruff it, sorry.
Leon Ruff. Yeah.
Leon
Ruff, Leo Rush, fucking.
Yeah. Oh, they're all
sounds
familiar.
the same.
I'm just like, I don't know. But yeah, I hope they don't do a Leon Ruff where like he's got it for a little bit and then he kind of loses it too.
Yeah, well, same thing for Bronson. Got this big push and now he's gone. Like, they're both gone. Like, why?
They were actually really good. They were both really talented. It's just sad to see them go.
As it stands right now, Carmelo, he said Melo don't miss. He didn't miss. He's the fucking champion. I marked out super hard. Overall, though, like, there was actually still a lot of stuff on this episode, much like Raw, that I didn't even bother taking notes for. Like, it was a very 50-50 episode. Like, the last few weeks have been pretty good, and then just this week, I don't know what it was. Like, it fell flat. There was something missing. Yeah. And maybe it's because they're still finding their feet with like the whole
new brand
2.0 stuff, but it just didn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
Over in Impact Wrestling, though, I didn't write any notes because I've only just watched it last night. I finally got back into my account after 2 weeks of emailing fucking 3 or 4 different email addresses, because that's just how they run things apparently. But finally got my account back. We caught up on last week's episode. They haven't, well, I don't know if they've added it yet, but last night when we went to watch, this week's episode wasn't up for some reason, so that was annoying because I was all excited to actually be up to date, because usually I record on a Thursday, so I'm a week behind on SmackDown and Impact regardless. I'm actually yet to see any spoilers from SmackDown today, so hopefully we can keep it that way before I go to work and come back and watch it. But we watched the Knockouts Knockdown special, and it was pretty good. Like, it's not the greatest thing we've watched all year, but I can't fault it.
Yeah.
The tournament, Tasha Steelz, who is another one that she's been very green, she has improved so much.
Yeah, a lot.
I think Rachel Ellering as well, you weren't as familiar with her when she came into Impact, and I marked out and was like, this girl is something, and finally on this special, she got to prove that.
Yeah, because mainly it was just, I don't know, she was kind of in Jordan Grace's shadow a lot for me before, because I was just like, they were like tag teaming, and that's mainly what I kept seeing. I didn't get to see much of her stuff, too much to her own, because I kept just going, oh my God, Jordan Grace, I'm just a fangirl for Jordan Grace.
I think Jordan Grace is another one that, if you're a wrestling fan and you're not a fan of Jordan Grace, like, I don't want to be one of those guys that you're not a real fan of, but that girl has it. God. Like, and again, she's so fucking young.
That match you showed me against Brian Cage, though, where she versed Brian Cage, and it was like, oh my God, that was a good match.
Yeah, I think that was the All-In Battle Royal, and she was the one that got to eliminate Brian Cage. Like, he's throwing dudes left and right, and she fucking throws him out. It's just like...
Yeah.
And apparently, I think... I can't remember which podcast it was, but Cage was talking about that. And he actually pushed really hard, like, that no, Jordan has to be the one that does it. Like,
yeah, she's a tank. I'm just like, I love her.
she's going to be one that in a couple of years' time, I will not be shocked to see her in either an AEW or a WWE, whether it's NXT, Raw, SmackDown. She has it. But your girl, Mercedes Martinez,
Yes.
won the tournament ultimately and will face either Mickie James or Deonna Purrazzo in the future, depending on who wins at Bound for Glory. I would pop so hard if Mercedes... Like, so it's like, I don't want, people to come in and just win the title straight away, but she was introduced in this. She actually won the tournament, so it's like, in my mind, she's earned that right.
Yeah.
And she's a fucking legend who just doesn't get her props. So many people, like, they slept on her in NXT. They thought, she was washed up, whatever. Like, no, she can still go just as good now as she had at any other point in her career.
So athletic. I think she should have had the title in NXT.
100%. Her versus Rhea, great. Her versus Raquel, great. Even if it had been like her versus, Shayna before Shayna left. I can't remember. I don't think they had any matches if they...
No, I don't think they did.
But, like, she's just that kind of character. She can go with anyone. Like, she has wars with people.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand. And even more so, much like Natalya we were talking about before, she could be a locker room leader.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
So I do look forward to hopefully seeing, even if she doesn't win the championship, hopefully signing with Impact, because the young roster of women that they have, learning from someone like that, again, can only be a positive.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
We got a bit feelsy, though. They had a 4-way Monsters Ball match.
Yeah.
They paid tribute to Daphne, and I got a little bit teary-eyed. I think you got a little bit teary-eyed. As a result, though, they have actually, and it's about fucking time, we have the Tag Me In, I don't know, project, initiative, I don't know what you'd call it. Basically, after all these fucking years, professional wrestling finally, to some extent, has a safe space. Now, every promotion has, like their little bubble sort of thing. And quick shout out. I'm going off topic. I said I didn't want to do that, but this morning, Amanda Huber was signed as the head of AEW's community outreach team, which is going to help with a bunch of different things. And, to an extent,
needed,
unfortunately,
sure.
may cover these types of issue, but that's part of the job, right? But this covers all of professional wrestling as a whole. It doesn't matter. Fan, wrestler, any promotion. Like, if you need help, obviously there's professional help out there, but this is specifically aimed at, professional wrestling, hence the name Tag Me In. Like, I know that, sometimes I feel like a burden to you. Sometimes you feel like a burden to me. And that's just the mental health saying that. But it's like, tag me in. Yeah. And I fucking love that. And that's all Daph wanted, was she wanted to leave the world a better place. And it seems like, I don't know if it was direct, but it seems like almost, the way in which Daph passed was kind of almost the kick in the ass for this.
Yeah, because she really... wants to be really involved. Now, even now she's passed on, she wants to donate her brain.
Yes.
And I think it was Taylor Wilde.
Taylor Wilde was the one that was doing the talking and stuff.
Yeah.
She was doing like the voiceover as they were showing like Daff and stuff.
And she mentioned about that not only is this going to help with mental health, but they get to look at a female wrestler's brain and have a bit of a look and see, like, concussion-wise, what's there, how they can help with that. Like, scientifically, that's just great.
I did love that perspective. Like, Taylor Wilde, she was on the other side of that for the first ever, Monsters Ball match. And it's like, they're proving that, hey, the women can break down barriers, but at what cost?
Yeah, exactly.
And I love that.
And I just loved the fact that, a lot of the time, the knockouts, like, division really didn't really get shown in a masculine light. And those girls knocked it out of the park.
The knockouts division was kind of, it was based on that. Like, they came out and, 2017, you had Gail Kim, Awesome Kong. I think it was 2009. So, 2 years into that, like, they were still wrestling like men, as the expression goes, to an extent. And then all of a sudden it's like, it just shifted up a gear, and then, Hulk Hogan came in and it kind of
went backwards in time.
Went backwards a little bit, and now they're just, as we talked about just before, like all these women are just fucking killing it. The Monsters Ball match itself, it wasn't the greatest match ever, but it was definitely, I think Daff could look at that and she would have been fucking proud of that. But yeah, it's just so awesome to see. But we'll move on. The song of the week this week just kind of fell into my lap as I was kind of, going over things. And it's People Are Crazy by Billy Currington. It's a nice little country song, but it's not overly redneck for those that don't like country music. I'll attempt to explain more when I get to the Q&A portion as to why this kind of struck a chord with me. But basically, while I was thinking about one of the answers, this song just kind of smacked me in the face. So that song again was People Are Crazy. They're cray-cray. People Are Crazy by Billy Currington. Not much in the wrestling news this week, but something you and I are kind of fanboying or fangirling, marking out about, is that during the Knockouts Knockdown special at some point, they announced that the former Iconics, Peyton Royce and Billy Kay, now known as The Inspiration, of course, Cassie Lee and Jessie McKay, they're coming to Impact. During the week, they've revealed that they will be making their debut at Bound for Glory for the Knockout Tag Team titles against Havoc and Rosemary. Now, there is the part of me that, again, I don't want them to come straight in and win the titles, and that could just be me being a mark for Havoc and Rosemary, but this is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
And I said from the
signing.
And I said from the get-go that they are a perfect fit for Impact because their division, with all due respect to WWE, sorry, they just left WWE. With all due respect to AEW, NWA, Ring of Honor, wherever else, this is like the perfect fit for them because they can be in a tag team.
Yeah.
They can be singles, and they don't necessarily have to break up the Iconics or the Inspiration, as they're now known.
Yeah.
So, only a little thing, but
I'm keen to see what they do.
It was big news to me, at least, and I know to you that the Iconics, the Inspiration, they're coming. They're going to be at Bound for Glory, and I'm expecting that tag match, honestly, to be a fucking banger because Havoc and Rosemary, they're really good. Like, I've been a big fan of both of them for quite some time.
Yeah. And I just think they're a big addition to the tag team division of, women's division of Impact.
And you even said, you're like, fuck, why would you, why did you announce that? Like, it would have been a massive, pop sort of thing. I would have
popped so hard.
But at the same time, they do have that outreach that it's like, this could be potential for Impact to slowly start building themselves up again.
Oh, they've got WWE
Lord
stars.
forbid, I fucking hope that they do.
WWE
Like, I know it sounds cheesy, because that's kind of what TNA, when it was in the Hogan Bischoff era, that they signed everyone willy-nilly, right? And that's kind of what fucked them, because it's like XWE star, and people are saying that AEW is doing the same, and I've already defended that, because it's like, look at the percentage of people they've signed compared to the amount of people that were released. It's actually kind of small in the grand scheme of things, which shows you just how many people have actually been released. But
if you notice,
big move for Impact for sure.
Who they're signing, they're actually really talented. They're not just
that's what I mean.
Picking up their scraps like people are saying.
And Impact have done the same thing here. Like, how many of the people that have been released have come to Impact? Of the last, Alex Zane's just made his debut, which next week on Impact, I hope that goes up straight away. We've got Alex Zane versus Trey Miguel in a one-on-one match. I am losing my fucking marbles just at the thought of that.
Yes.
But definitely a big move. The news that tickled my fancy the most here is GCW are opening, I don't know if I'd call it a new promotion, but a new brand. Basically, they're opening a promotion, I guess I'm just going to call it that. They've called it LA Fights, obviously by the name. They're going to be based out of LA, Los Angeles. And it's basically the same as, the offshoots and GCW itself. It's for all the rising stars / legends that can still go on the West Coast, much like how they've got, Jersey Championship Wrestling on the East Coast. More wrestling, in my opinion, although it is hard to keep up with for us. Like, we're back to being 2 weeks behind on NXT UK again. We're 2 weeks behind on Ring of Honor again. There's just so much wrestling, but more wrestling is a win, especially when the talent themselves is concerned.
Yeah.
The match of the week this week And if y'all don't like it, you can thank Mrs. Crossfire for this. It's her fault.
What? What did I do?
She suggested that why not, given that it's the month of October, pick something from one of the Halloween Havoc pay-per-views. So while you were sleeping, I went through and I was like, 1998 had a really fucking good main event. Halloween Havoc 98, DDP versus Goldberg.
Ooh,
now, I don't think I've actually showed you this match
I don't think I've seen
before,
this one. No.
But this is the match where back in the day, Bill Goldberg was just fucking ripping people apart, screaming who's next. Everyone was believing the hype. And at the time, as like a little 4-year-old child, probably going, Goldberg, Goldberg. But this was the match that really took off Goldberg's career, in my opinion. It's the match that he himself has admitted really taught him about the psychology aspect of professional wrestling, and really started to understand the beauty of professional wrestling, I guess. And a little fun fact, though, for those that were watching live on pay-per-view, this is the greatest spectacle in the world, because that's what Tony Schiavone said every show, because every show was the greatest show, because they were feeding him lines, but that's okay. For those that were watching live, they didn't actually get to see the end of this match until the following night on Nitro, because somewhere along the line, some of the segments went overtime, and the cable provider went, okay, you've reached your allotted time, and they cut the fucking feed halfway through the match.
Oh, no.
But if you go to the WWE Network and you search WCW and you go to the pay-per-view section and you click on Halloween Havoc and you cycle all the way through the 1998 and you click on that little chapter, you get the full match. It's fine. It's a fucking banger of a match. It really is one of Goldberg's best matches. And even DDP, for all the bangers he had, it's one of his best matches too, just because of the atmosphere of everyone being so like behind Goldberg as this killer. And, you know, DDP obviously... he was a fucking megastar in his own right. It's just a really good match. I have to remember to show you that match now.
Yeah.
But thank you for the suggestion of Halloween, because I had no idea what to pick this week.
It's the month for it.
But the match of the week this week is DDP versus Goldberg, Halloween Havoc 1998. We've gone just over an hour here, so I'll go to the Q&A. I've just written them down kind of in the order that I've received them, so some might be more intriguing than others. Originally, I was going to go off the cuff, but kind of as I was thinking about the answers, I just kind of wrote them down because I'm like, oh shit, that's good. That might actually be better than what I can come up with. You haven't actually seen any of these questions bar one.
No,
So I made a joke on episode 18 that you weren't in the hot seat yet. So on this episode, in a way, you kind of are, but if it takes you too long to, answer the question, that's fine. I can, clip down the dead space sort of thing. It's fine. Don't stress too much. But I think I'll answer them first just to kind of give you that time.
Yeah,
to answer, if that's all right.
I might be a little green on, so
that's all right.
The wrestling
even this first one, you may not even have an answer for that, and that's fine because it's a little bit of fantasy booking.
Okay, I just wanted to chime in a little bit.
That's all right.
Yeah.
But Dolan asks, shout out to D, one of the biggest supporters I've had since the day we met. Met him up north. He's a good dude. But he asks, in a triple threat match between Bruiser Brody, Brock Lesnar, and Walter, who gets the win, who takes the pin, and who takes the most time selling outside the ring? Do you imagine that match? Jesus fucking Christ.
That would be a banger of a match.
But, as I said, I'll answer these first just to give you time to think. If you can't think of an episode, can't think of an answer, that's cool. We'll move on to the next one. But I think Brock Lesnar spends the most time selling on the floor just by a fraction, because I feel like Brody in his own right would kind of get the generic double suplex through a table or something, because, Brock and Walter need time to go at it as well, because that's a dream match in their own right. But I think Walter takes the pin, but the winner, it has to be Bruiser Brody.
Yeah.
Man, the legend.
That's what I was thinking.
Maybe that's just me being a mark, but just... Brock, obviously, you can't have him pinned, because then this is a fantasy world. We've got to save Brock versus Brody for a singles match, right?
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
But yeah, I think, Brock spends the most time selling outside the ring. Walter takes the pin, and the man pinning him, thus getting the win. is Bruiser Brody.
I agree with that one.
Would you agree with that one? So we'll just move on to the next question.
I actually agree with that one. That actually would be a pretty good match.
Ash asks, and this is actually a really good fucking question, and I'm probably about to start ranting. My bad. If someone had zero knowledge about wrestling or wrestlers, who do you suggest they start with to get into it? Now, this is a big step, and you've already taken it, and that's being open-minded. There is so many people that they're going to stop at the shallow approach of, that's fake, and then their favourite movie is going to be some sort of sci-fi or superhero-related thing. Anyway, but I digress. But honestly, there's a lot of different ways that you can approach this. And if you want to watch as just a fan, that's where you need to figure out what kind of style of wrestling you like. And again, being that you haven't watched, which is the point of this question, that can be a little bit hard. But say you're into, athletics or gymnastics, you're obviously going to be a fan of the more high-flying style of wrestling. And that's where you can just pick a wrestler, go Rey Mysterio, Amazing Red, AJ Styles, pre-WWE. The Young Bucks. If you want to go deeper, the X Division in TNA / Impact Wrestling, specifically mid-2000s, like, you can sign up for a free trial on the Impact Plus app. If you don't want to keep it for 30 days, they've got a best of the X Division playlist that goes from like way back then to like now. And some of the stuff that's in that with Low Key and Chris Sabin and Petey Williams, and holy shit, I'm getting goosebumps because I've got like all of that over there on DVD somewhere. But it's such good shit. Such good shit, pal. And then, if you like the more hardcore stuff or blood, Terry Funk, Cactus Jack, Raven, the Sandman, not to mention, all the deathmatch wrestlers like Hayabusa over in Japan, right? Like, even Bruiser Brody, who we just mentioned, he's having blood feuds and stuff all over the fucking Caribbean and Puerto Rico and stuff. But the ECW stuff, Sabu, Abyss, as I just said, ECW specifically from like 97 to like 2000s good stuff. And again, YouTube, or you can use a free trial of the WWE Network, go to ECW, cycle through all that. The guys over at Deathmatch Down Under here in Australia, they've got a couple of free things on their YouTube channel. And again, DMDU on IWTV gets you 5 days free. You can go back and watch, 5 days. There's only like a handful of shows there. That gives you enough time to watch all the shows if you want to watch some stuff. As again, I don't know what you're into, but these are just some examples. If you want to watch wrestling while understanding the business side of things, then watch The Wrestler starring Mickey Rourke.
Oh,
it is a fucking brutally honest look at the world of professional wrestling while still maintaining dramas, of movie characters sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Heels. We've been talking about it. We loved it. It's got Stephen Amell. Go fucking watch it. He's the Green Arrow. But there's a couple of, there's a fair few, wrestling documentaries out there as well. Like they're on, Amazon, fucking Tubi has a lot of them, but just, search for them. The big one though, and I feel like, Ash being the person asking this question would appreciate, is Dark Side of the Ring.
Yes, that will really get you into it.
It's in your face. At times it's very true crime-esque. Of course, the murders of Bruiser Brody, the murder, suicide, or alleged, I guess, because they've kind of left the case open of Chris Benoit. But there's just a lot of stuff in there that both wrestling fans and non-wrestling fans alike kind of makes you appreciate it more, or at least understand it a bit more. Yeah. And, season 1 and 2 are available in full on SBS On Demand. The first half of season 3 is available in there as well. They're still in the process of airing the episodes on Vice in the US, so be a couple more months before the second half's on there, but it will be on there regardless, and it's 100% free. So, go check out, a couple of episodes of that and see what you think.
And from this perspective, from a woman's kind of perspective, if you wanted to get your girlfriend or someone into it that enjoys drama and enjoys guilty pleasure shows that have that reality aspect to them, Total Divas, obviously, or Total Bellas, because maybe more Total Divas, because you get to see a bit more of the wrestling. They're doing some stuff at the Performance Center. You're seeing a bit more of that. And that's a nice little easy transition. It's something they know they're comfortable around to get them into it. That's
trash
how
TV, like keeping up with the Kardashian style, but it's very, very guilty pleasure. Like you can kind of put it on, and we binge watch the shit out of all the Total Divas, which I talked about on the pod.
That light bit of like wrestling to kind of get her into it and go, ooh.
Yeah, and it still gives you kind of like an outside like understanding to an extent. Yeah,
it's how I'd get some of my friends into it that are like those guilty pleasure shows, and
some of my personal favorite wrestlers that I know for a fact have connected with non-wrestling or casual wrestling fans in the past, just, family and friends that they've never understood why it is that I'm so obsessed. And then when these wrestlers are on the TV, they'll kind of turn their head and be like, oh, like I've had my nan, obviously, she watched back in the day with Hulk Hogan, hence why my dad was enjoying it, but she's watched a few things with me, and just cousins and friends in general that if I've had it on, they've kind of peeked their head in. And there's Eddie Guerrero, of course, my fucking idol, and there's a reason for it. Like, people just look at him and they're just drawn to him. Guys like Kurt Angle, who's arguably the greatest wrestler in terms of actual wrestling. And then you got The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Edge, who is still fucking killing it in 2021. Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock. Everyone knows who The Rock is. Everyone.
Yeah.
And then if you want to be more modern, and this isn't even, going to the bottom of the barrel. This is just, it's not even scratching the surface either. Like, it's just taking off the lid and just grabbing out the first handful. You got Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns. If you want to be, hardcore wrestling fan, go to AEW, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, who I mentioned just before in the high flying portion of that. Jurassic Express, the Lucha Bros. Like, there is so many people. CM Punk, right?
Yeah.
And then if you want to look at the women's side of things, Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks. Like, there's just so much out there. And after all of that ranting, the short answer, I've already said it, is just keep an open mind.
Yeah, keep an open mind as you're going in. Like, the early list of what you just had literally
I was
is
about
what
to
got me.
pass it over to you, so take the floor.
Literally, those earlier wrestlers like Edge and like Kurt Angle and Ray and Eddie and all that. That's what got me in as a kid.
Yeah, my brother was just with flipping Batista through as well, I think.
Yeah, Batista. Yeah, my little brother, my older brother, was flipping through channels and it was on there, and he was like, "Oh, wrestling! I'm gonna watch some of this." And then me and my little brother,
he got you into it, and then you got your younger brother into it.
Yeah, because my little brother was like, I really like Ray, and he just loved the flippy shit. And when I was younger, I loved the flippy shit. I'm still friggin' a bit of a spot monkey now.
Ray's a good one as well, though, with the outfits and stuff, though, with the masks and stuff.
Yeah, and that's what gets kids and stuff in. But even it would get anyone in. It's just interesting. It's just what's the go with that mask and stuff? Yeah.
The third question on this, Brighton Media over on the Gram asks, and I'm pretty sure, honestly, that this was just an automated response by a bot because of the hashtags I was using. But it's a good question, so fuck it. What got you into podcasting? I'll pass this one over to you first. What got you into podcasting, Mrs. Crossfire?
You?
You're goddamn right. Now, this is going to be story time. The reason, as I said, this is quite obviously an automated response for a bot, but it got me thinking, and it's this is story time right now. With the essential John L. Crossfire. This is shit that I don't think I've even actually told you. This is we're about to go deep into my childhood just to answer this one question, which you're thinking, why is that? But you're about to find out. I wanted to be three things when I was a child. The first one, I wanted to be a truck driver just like my daddy. My dad was like, motherfucker, you ain't doing that. And then I grew up and started going blind and found out I couldn't get my license anyway, so he was safe with that one. The second one was, I wanted to be a professional wrestler. What? You? Never!
Never. I never thought that was an option.
Obviously, I did that to an extent. But the third one, and I arguably, at least as a kid, wanted to do this more than even wrestling, and that was I wanted to be an author. I don't know how many times I got outstanding marks in English class with the whole, creative writing standpoint. I wrote, how we'd get I I've got one sitting just over there somewhere. But like the school books, I wrote pretty much an entire book of a 10-year-old me entering the world of Pokemon.
But see, it doesn't like surprise me. Like you haven't actually told me that, but it actually doesn't surprise me. Like it's not shocking. It's like wrestling. Like it's kind of obvious in a way where your fantasy booking and stuff matches all the time, and you kind of have to be a bit of an author to do that. Like you're writing out matches, you're writing out scripts, and some of it you're just doing for fun, but it's just like it makes sense that that's what you're into, and you've got that creative mindset. Like you could go really well with creative writing and being an author because you're already doing storylines and stuff anyway.
Yeah, well, I was actually about to get into that further down into this, but
yeah.
As a 10-year-old, as I said, I wrote pretty much an entire fucking book of me being a Pokemon trainer with my starter. I think it was Trico at the time. And it's like I'm going into the world and I'm battling all the gym leaders who, of course, they were my friends from school as well. And, I'm catching all these Pokemon. And then we had to write in primary school, I think it was in year 4 or 5. It would have been year 4 because it was just before I changed school.
Yeah.
And we had to write a short story for the kindergarten year 1 kid. So I basically wrote a short children's book. And I wrote it, and this is going to go again into my childhood trauma because, authors use metaphors and shit. It was about a family of skateboards, specifically the little baby skateboard. And somehow he went through some fucking portal and he ended up in the world of surfboards. And everyone picked on him and hung shit on him because he was different and he was an outcast. But then eventually, somehow the worlds, kind of combined and he made some friends and there was a pair of surfboard, adults that kind of took him on as an adopted kid as well, and they became best friends with his parents, and it's all fucking tacky, cheesy shit,
really
but it's basically
I
was an outcast and I felt and then I kind of, eventually, and it's going to transcend into another question in just a moment, and it's the one that you do know, but eventually you find those people, right?
Yeah.
And then the big one, and this comes into why I made this song, the song of the week, was they basically, I think I was in year 11, so it would have been 2011, and the teacher's like, I think it's basically they're trying to, test, your vocabulary to see how, vast or small it is, and then, your grammar and blah, blah, blah. But the way they did it was, has to be at least 5 pages, and they're basically saying no more than 10 sort of thing. So it's like, take a movie, a TV show, a song, whatever it is, take something that you like that's, in some form of digital media and use that as a base for your story.
Yeah, yeah.
So then I'm just, as I said, as you know, I love my country music, and I'd just be doing other homework or whatever, and I just have my, my music on in the background. And at the time, living in Goulburn, I think it was 107.7 or something like that, 103.7, something like that. There was the country music channel, right? And this song comes on, and there's a line in the song. Basically, the song's about an old man who's sitting down at the bar, and he's just, as you do, you sit down at the bar, and he just starts giving advice to, this young guy, right? Mm-hmm. And he sparks up a cigarette, and he says, "These damn things will kill me yet." And out of that one line, I created this story where this guy was a war veteran. I named him Eduardo because it was a little reference to Eddie Guerrero because, again, I just live and breathe fucking wrestling and whatever. But basically, he was a war veteran. He suffered severe anxiety. He walked around thinking that, everyone hated him and whatever. He'd find out on his 70th birthday that was a lie. Everyone loved him. His entire office threw him a surprise birthday for his 70th birthday party. So then he seeks out who it was that, comes up with the original idea for the party, and it's a young guy. I can't remember what name I gave the character, but basically they sit down, they have a drink, and the climax is he sparks up a cigarette and these damn things will kill me yet, right? The same as the song.
Yeah.
But that was basically it. And then that was really long-winded, but I feel like I needed to explain that.
Yeah. Because
it's like that's kind of what drew me. This is what made me I've always wanted to just tell stories. This is why I've just wanted to be a distraction from everyone's day to day, much like the voice of Jim Ross was always a distraction from my my everyday life. And that's why I've always had a passion to an extent for doing commentary, because that was me in a way paying tribute to Jim Ross. And Jim Ross is probably never going to know that. He doesn't know who the fuck I am. That's fine. But it's that piece of me, I always took to him. And that's why I've always had such a passion, as you just said, for writing wrestling shows, booking wrestling shows. This is why and it's going to sound super vain, I know I would be great at writing and booking wrestling shows. But yeah, this, as I said, I wanted to be an author when I was younger before being bullied at school about how stupid that is. And I had a girl specifically say, that sounds really gay.
I don't know how.
Because, kids are just cunts. But yeah, then I started to go blind at, 14, 15 anyway. And you know just as well as I do, like, I'm struggling to read my notes right now because of the way my eyes are. So writing, sitting down and writing a book would be rather difficulty. But the short answer after all that ranting, but I feel like it needed to be explained, is that's why I wanted to go into podcasting, because I wanted to tell stories. I wanted to be a distraction for, hey, this has gone for, almost an hour and a half. This might go for just an hour and a half by the time we finish these questions. But I just wanted to tell stories. I wanted to be a distraction for the better for people, sort of thing.
It makes sense though too, because you've got that creative mindset, and you're a very creative person, so it makes sense for you to do this, and you love telling stories and stuff. You're just natural at it. You're a natural talker as well. Like, you could talk for hours. Which
is funny, because at school I used to fail a lot of like the speaking role sort of thing. Like, like when you do like the presentations, I'd be like, nah, these people are judging me. Fuck that.
But
and again, that comes back to the anxiety part as well.
Yeah, you're in your own head, and at the same time, it's not even just that. It's you're getting scrutinized, because you've got like every little word that you say, you're getting scrutinized, you're getting marked on that. There's a pressure there, and it's the way that the teachers are executing the assignments to you as well.
Yeah, well, I've stuttered God knows how many times in this conversation. Usually if I'm doing it by myself, I'd repeat myself and I'd cut it out. Because I'm talking to you, they're just going to have to deal with the fact that I'm spluttering all over my words. Plus, I'm having difficulty reading my notes because of my eyes as it is. But
it's kind of the point of your whole podcast anyway. You're caught in conversation.
We're having a conversation here.
Yeah.
But the next question, Barry Blake asks, and I'm pretty sure he asked me this because he wanted me to say him. He wanted me to mention him. No. I love you, Bazza, but just settle down. But it's a good question. He says, who in Aussie wrestling that is still fairly green has the most potential to go far? First and foremost, being called green, it isn't an insult. It's just that's how you determine someone's experience level. It is what it is. I'll be the first to tell you, I'm the most fucking green dude like ever, but that's fine.
You've got to learn, and you've got to start somewhere.
And I know that a lot of people I do know personally, that they support me, they listen to this podcast. Please don't get offended by me not mentioning names. This is just me.
It's personal opinion.
Yeah, like this. Yeah. Like, who do I see making it big in Australia, possibly worldwide, within the next 5 to 10 years? And those people are Matt Gage, Matthias Glock, and Zero, of course, all products of, the Suplex Pro Wrestling, which I hope they get to come back soon. Charlie Rose, her death match, and I covered this in the very, very first episode of the podcast. Her death match with Joel Bateman was just, like, I'd heard of her name a couple of times, and I followed her on social media just because I saw that she was doing good stuff, but that match that she had with Joel, like, she's a fucking star, and again, she's like, and I don't say this, like, in a negative term, but to me, because she's so young, she's a fucking child. Like, she has so much room to grow and just keep getting better. It's like we said before about like Jordan Grace and stuff like that. Like, they're so young. It's just fucking wow.
Yeah, they're so young. Where are they going to go from like there? They're already amazing. Like, how much better can they get?
And the next one on my list was Michelle Rogue. She's already had a little bit of success. She was in the PWA Rumble. I don't doubt for a second that she will be back in PWA. She also had a match in DMDU with Richie Taylor in the heavyweight title tournament. Tyler Gunn is a really big one for me that I can see going really far. Like, he's just so naturally gifted in the ring, and his promos have gotten pretty good as well. Like, the first ones were like, yeah, like, you could tell that he was nervous, but at the same time, like, the editing and stuff that he put behind it, you could tell that he's trying and he was putting in an effort, and his delivery's gotten better over time as well. So it's like, he's got all fronts covered. but he just needs to take a step up. But I can quite easily seeing him take that step up. And on top of that, he also is doing like graphic design and stuff for people's logos to put on gear. So it's like he's going to be in the business regardless of where he goes anyway. So he could be like the next Sandra. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
Shout out to Sandra, current seamstress in AEW, former seamstress of WWE.
She's the best.
WCW, but yeah, she's super talented. But Tyler Gunn is just another one. Cherry Stevens in PWA. She is absolutely fantastic, and she is hilarious. She just has such perfect comedic timing, which will go a long way, because it's all well and good to have your fundamentals, which she clearly does, but having that comedic aspect, you can go in so many different directions, and yeah, you're not going to be in the main event on this show. You're not going to be in the main event on that show, but people are going to remember your segment the most, which can eventually lead you into being in the main event on another show down the line. And the big one, the last one on my list, it is one of our guys, and that's Sam Driver. I honestly, firsthand, I have not seen another guy work as hard as he does in the ring to get better. He's said that his goal is he wants to go overseas, and I can see Sam Driver because he's honestly, and again, this is where people are probably going to come for me, in the entire history of ICW, of all the guys I've seen, he is the most technically sound wrestler I've ever seen in that ring.
Yeah.
That's just me. People might disagree, but I could see a Sam Driver taking over Australia, if not overseas, in 5 to 10 years. Do you have anyone that I haven't listed that you've observed firsthand, whether it doesn't have to be, ICW or whatever? Like I've shown you a few things. I've shown you Suplex, PWA, a bit of MCW here.
Jessica Troy.
Oh,
yeah.
See, Jess Troy.
She's not very green.
She's not green, but in the grand scheme of things, in terms of exposure and stuff,
yeah, it was.
She has only just really started to take that next level.
Yeah, that's what I was feeling.
Because I was also thinking while writing that I'm like, can I put Ricky South in that? Like, that category as well? Like,
they're not green.
It's like they're not green,
but it's the exposure.
But if you look at the amount of years, it's like it's not, But yeah.
Yeah, that's where I was kind of going, like Jessica Troy.
But definitely, Jessica Troy is a fucking star. Yeah. And she deserves to be celebrated. Like, man, woman, I don't care. Like, Jessica Troy is the shit.
Yeah.
She's the shit.
She's killing it.
She's the bomb.com.
Yeah. But she's probably the main one the first one that kind of comes to mind. I can't really, there's a lot. I've seen a lot, but it's just like I need to be exposed to it more to kind of give you like a proper answer. But I'd say Jessica Troy is the main one that comes to my mind.
Any of like the rookies, and I'm doing quotation marks on an audio podcast, but any of the rookies in PWA right now, they have the perfect platform. Like, look at the product that they've churned out. You've got the Iconics. You've got Steph DeLander. You've got Maddie Wahlberg. They've all made it to the WWE.
Exactly.
And that was their be all end all, right? Like, it's just they've got the perfect setup, I feel. And then, even Robbie Eagles, right? Fucking killing it in New Japan.
Yeah.
Current IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, the first ever Australian IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion in almost fucking 50 years or whatever.
Yeah.
That's just insane. And then you got Madison Eagles, who, for the mainstream wrestling fans, aren't familiar with, but those hardcore fans that, they've watched Shimmer and Shikara and just, all the indie wrestling stuff, they know that she, and I say this as a complete term of endearment, she a bad bitch.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't take no shit. Like, she's not a good women's wrestler. She's a good fucking wrestler, and it doesn't matter who you are. If you come in and you train with her, she'll make sure that you show her respect. Like you listen to a lot of podcasts, and they'll say that, like, outside of training, she's apparently, like, I've never actually met her firsthand. I met her for like a brief second, but that was a wrestler fan kind of thing at World Series, right? But outside of training, she's apparently like the most lovely lady ever. But once you get the training, it's like,
she's serious.
Not like full on drill sergeant, but like at the same time, drop down, give me 20. Like,
Yeah.
you're here, you're going to fucking train, you're going to do it the best of your ability.
Exactly.
Rightfully so. Like, if you're not pushing your own limits, then what are you doing? Mm-hmm. But the next question is, and this comes from my awesome sister-in-law, your beautiful sister, and she says, how do you deal with struggling to maintain friendships and relationships? Now, I'll preface this by saying that neither of us are professionals, but we, as I've well documented, we struggle with mental health, right? Yeah. And it took me a long time to get used to this because I was always kind of getting left out, and I've cycled through I don't know how many friend groups to get to the one that I have now, and it's, obviously the best one I've ever had. And it's a lot easier said than done because, at times you do feel lonely, but I'm going to just leave it at this before I hand it over to you because you're really good at this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like, again, easier said than done, but just be yourself. Yeah. And, Lillian Garcia always ends her podcast, Chasing Glory. Be yourself and trust that it's enough. Yeah. And that's something that I've subscribed to because it's like, if you're being yourself and, you're trying to impress this person or whatever and they don't want to bother it, then the way I look at it is, and it might seem vain to a degree, but they're obviously not worth your time. Like, if you're being yourself and that's not good enough for them, then as lonely as it is, that's fine. Like, you've just kind of not suck it up, but you just kind of got to bear with it, grit your teeth, because eventually you're going to find friends.
Yeah. And
like you and I, we both only have small friend circles, but that's fine because I always say, quality over quantity.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I know that if I'm in a fucking crisis, I can call Nick Maltino and be like, bro, like, I'm having a fucking breakdown. Like,
yeah,
here I am. Like, I'll call, James Hellfire. We don't text each other as often as we used to, but if it came down to it and I was like, life or death, I'd call him and it's like, fuck. And he'd be like, shit, like, sort of thing. And I know you're very much the same as well. Like, Mrs. Maltino, you and her are very close. Shout out to the Maltino family. But, like,
I call her when I'm in a mess.
Like, how would you... I'm going to take a sip of my drink while you answer this question, but the floor is yours, my love. Yeah. How do you deal with... I can give you that there so you can read the...
I'll just read over the question.
The question
again.
There. How do you deal with... It's right there.
Yeah, how do you deal with struggling to maintain friendships and relationships? So I look at it in the fact I'm only just starting to maintain a relationship, and that's with you. With other relationships, I've had a lot of failed relationships, but they've taught me a lot. And it's like, you've learned quite a lot from failed relationships. Even with friendships, a lot of friendships and stuff. A lot of people, it's hard to kind of describe, but it's, I'm a very caring person, and I know, like, my sister is as well. And sometimes that gets taken for granted. You're in a world where a lot of people take rather than give. And, if you're offering, a plate of food up, why wouldn't the person take it, kind of thing? Like, it's just kind of like it's there. So people are obviously going to take and not really, see the repercussions of that. And a lot of friendships have been like that. They've been a lot more take than give. And I'm only just starting to find, like, I've got one decent friend, really, and that's Jazz. So, like, we give and take to each other constantly, all the time. Like, we're always there for each other. And it's only now that I'm finding that. Like, I found Sam, my best friend, and I'm getting a bit teary here, but...
Because she passed away, for those that don't know.
Yeah, so she passed away. She was kind of the first kind of decent friend I had, and that was when I turned 18. So it's like before that, school was a real struggle with friends and maintaining friends. I was a bit of a weirdo to people. I was a bit more of an outcast.
You're still a bit of a weirdo, but that's one of the reasons I love you.
But yeah, I'm just different. So it's like people kind of like mainly just took advantage of me, and I was just always the one that came second to other people, and it really hurt. It still does, and it made me really sad that I finally found that friend and I lost her, and I kind of took that for granted in a way where my anxiety, I let it get in the road, and I never went out and hung out with her as much as I should have, and I had limited time with her, and now that's made me look at friendships in a whole different light. If they don't have time for me, then I don't have time for them, if that's how it's going to be. And I need to stop giving so much. And I'm finding that that's what's maintaining friendships now is I'm just being more careful with my time, and I need to.
You've got to find your balance, and obviously, you know, it's easier said than done. But you know, some days you might not be having, you know, a good day, and you might just want to be left alone. As a friend, you know, they should be able to understand that, you know, hey, it's nothing personal, but can we push this back or can we push that back? And if they're like, oh, well, fucking, you don't want to spend time with me, it's like, no, because that's being manipulative and they're not actually your friend, sort of thing.
Yeah, and I just see it as it's the way to maintain it is just, number one, just be yourself. And if that's not enough for them, that they're not a real friend anyway. And it sucks losing friends and it's super painful and stuff to go through. But if they're not there for you, then what's the point in being there for them? And that's how I see it. Like, there's no magic way to just make friends and stuff. There's some people that are super charismatic and can have a million friends, but are they true friends? Are they stabbing them in the back? Like, you never really know the level of the friendship. And it might look great on social media and they might be like best friends on there, but you don't know what's happened behind the scenes. Like, a lot of people put up a front for social media. So,
a lot of people use social media to kind of to get ahead in a lot of aspects.
Yeah, and that's how I'm kind of like, they're portraying their best life on social media. No one portrays their worst life on social media. A lot of social media is fake. So it's like, you see a lot of that, and a lot of friendships are like that.
Yeah, well, I noticed, I started because I've gotten to the point with social media where I'm like, I don't care, like, this is me. Yeah. The amount of followers that I had and started to lose when I started to be more
yourself
honest about, especially when it comes to mental health and that, people are like, fuck, that's depressing and I don't want to say that. And to an extent, I'm like, look, that's your prerogative, that's fine. But the amount of people that it's like, he's a sad sack of shit. And it's just like, this is, you know, we're talking about real issues here.
Yeah.
Like, eventually you find a group of people that you can talk about these issues. And I appreciate that you knew what this question was, and this is shout out to, you know, I'm not going to say her name in case she doesn't want me to, but shout out to your sister for asking this question, because this is the reason you wanted to come on there, because you wanted to be able to open up. Like, you talk about give and take. Like, I've had exes where at the time I was unemployed and I was struggling to find work because of my eyes.
Yeah.
I still gave them like every fucking cent that I had, and that still wasn't good enough. Whereas you, it's like, hey, look, I've only got X amount until payday. Can I give you, you know, this much if you need help with whatever it is? Well, and you're like, you're the most appreciative, like damn near in tears like you are now. So as I said, like, I appreciate you. Like, coming on the podcast the first time was a big deal for you because of your anxiety. So coming here and like, you're talking to me, you're opening up to me, but you're not just opening up to me. Like, this is going out to other people.
Yeah.
And they're hearing you be real.
I'm super vulnerable.
And again, shout out again to Lillian Garcia. Real, raw, and inspiring.
Yeah.
Like, I know, like, it might only be one person, but I've got a couple of people now, actually. I had a few people in Argentina, they've dropped off. But I've got two listeners in the UK randomly that are listening to this. Yeah. So it's like, okay, we don't have a big outreach, but this is just us. We're being real. So I think, long story short, though, I think we both had the same answer. It was, just be yourself.
Just be yourself. And I know that's as easy as anything to say, but the true people will stick around and the others will just go, you know? Like, the true people will stick around. And that's the only way. Like, you're never going to maintain friendships, like, with life and even, like, exes and stuff, like, relationships. People come and go, and that's just a part of life.
It's
and
just hard, a brutal kind of honesty sort of thing. Like, it sucks, but, you know.
Yeah, you know who's real and you know who's not. Like, you learn this, and it's all like a learning game too. Like, it's just learning these lessons and stuff.
We've probably, you know, both got, you know, friends, acquaintances, whatever that we talk to now that one day, you know, they might not be around, whether it's because we've stopped talking or whether, you know, they've sadly passed away as well. Like,
passed away.
Things happen. But is there anything else you wanted to add before we move on?
I think
to the next question.
That was mainly it. It's just there's no magic answer to answer it, like, about maintaining relationships and stuff, and with
no magic wand to wave and, you know, solve all your issues.
Mainly in the relationship thing is, I've had a lot of shitty relationships where there's no communication. Communication is key. And I see it, like, with our relationship. If we have a fight or something, resolve it before we go to sleep so we don't have nightmares.
Never go to bed angry.
Yeah, never go to bed angry. That's how I'd, maintain
If you've got to go to another room and calm down, whether it be half an hour,
Yeah.
Like, it's not even that we're arguing, but there's sometimes, like, I'll just be fucking exhausted from work, and I'll be like, babe, like, I just need to go play my game. Like, just give me, like, an hour, like, I'm good.
Like, touching on mental health, sometimes John will have draining days from work, and I've had a coffee or sugar, and I'm too much. The ADHD's too much, and you just need a break.
I'm just like, babe, like, just give me chill. 5 seconds just to sit down, take off my shoes, and then we're good. Like, just let me get rid of the negative.
But and it's just, trying to be open-minded, mainly. Open-minded, be yourself.
Open-minded, be yourself.
Yeah. That's how I'd say it.
Words of wisdom from Mrs. Crossfire.
I should start my own mental health podcast, just saying.
But tag me in. Like, it comes back. If you ever need someone to talk to or some sister-in-law, tag me in. Bodie asks, shout out to Bodie, what was my experience like? He's talking about it like it's in past tense. It's still happening, damn it. I'll be back. The question is, what was the experience like at ICW Australia, and would I have done anything differently? Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed my experience thus far, and when I am able to come back, when COVID fucks off and when my mental health gets a little bit better and I'm able to be around a wrestling ring and come to terms with the fact that I can't be in it and that's that, then I will be back. But as far as things I would have done differently, I just wouldn't have been as selfish. I should say I would have been more selfish, because a lot of the times I was very giving with my opponents, and I didn't get to show what I was capable of, and the reality is now I never will, and it shits me to tears, because there's a couple of people that know how much talent I have, but to a lot of people I was just a very sloppy wrestler, and that makes me mad because I know that I wasn't. But what can you do? That's life. I was killing it as a commentator. I hope to come back and keep killing it as a commentator, but as a wrestler's wife / camera woman / canteen lady, what was your experience like thus far?
I really liked ICW in the fact that it's got that family dynamic, and it was just great to like be around everyone. Everyone was so welcoming. It was really good. It was a good environment. Yeah.
And speaking of independent wrestling, specifically here in Australia, Samuel asks, is it worth travelling to other places / as many promotions as possible, or should you stay in your own bubble? He then referenced the old school NWO territory days back in the States back in the day, and how it, seems to be a little bit hit or miss these days. And I say 100% take as many bookings as you can, but still be realistic about it. There is bad booking. Some might, look like it's all well and good because, you're going to get exposure in front of all these fans. But if you're in a toxic environment, get the fuck out. And at the same time, you could be on the small shows and you might have the best experience / most fun of your life. Like, you never know. But the long story short is staying in your own bubble, unless you're in a PWA, an MCW, or a DMZU now that they're on the rise, you're not going to go anywhere. Like, if you want to just wrestle once a month or, a couple of times a month, and you're not really looking to make a career out of it, then, by all means, stay in your own bubble. That's fine. But if you want to make something of yourself, the brutal honesty is you need to travel those roads.
You need that exposure.
And, never know. Sometimes, a bad booking can be a learning experience too. But at the same time, as I said, you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot. Like, if someone that's a promoter has a bad reputation, take a second just to think and look into why they have a bad reputation, at least just for a second before saying yay or nay.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm going to leave it at, because this isn't a shoot podcast. I'm not going to be like, this person treated me bad and blah, 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 because I don't want that fucking drama. Certain people fucked me over. That's how it is.
And it could be a personal experience where
bingo,
two different personalities clashed.
I worked for a handful of different promotions, so I can at least say this much without getting in trouble. I've had a couple of people like Nick Martino saying, hey, what's insert promotion here like? And I'm like, look, my experience was this, but I'd still tell you to give it a go because you might have a good time, right?
Experience. Yeah.
But 100% get as many bookings as you can.
Yeah, because even if you look at it, even those little shows that you take bookings at, there might be one fan there that talks to another fan and then talks to another fan, and then before you know it, they could be better, like bigger bookings, or you'll get more exposure that way too. So don't even look at it as it's a small crowd. People talk, and talking is good publicity.
Yeah, well, someone whose question I'm about to answer, not in the next one, but in a couple of questions' time, is Phil, and he struggles with mental health at times that he's told me about, and his kids struggle, and I've somehow managed to connect with the kids, and that means more. It's like, as a kid you dream about fucking, I'm gonna be at WrestleMania and this and that, but as an adult it's like, if that kid's struggling, and for at least 10 minutes of his day on a weekend, I made his day, I made his week, I made his month, just by 10 minutes of my time. That's better than going, somewhere else and being, fucked over sort of thing.
And this is like not to stroke my ego or anything, but I feel like I've helped you with that. Is you really wanted to make it big and you were getting frustrated at yourself because you weren't. And I was just like, you know what, and you talked about even when we have kids, you don't want to be that wrestler that's traveling everywhere if you get big. And
it's like, I never wanted to be famous. I just wanted to be able to be consistently able to make money and pay my rent. And then it's just like, this isn't going to happen unless I do this. And it's like, I don't want this, but I do want this. And it's just like, you were really like, shut the fuck up. Yeah. Like, just listen to me for 2 seconds and then,
It's like that constantly.
Ouch.
Ooh, bird. But
with that being said, finish your point and we'll move on to the next question because I got to work soon.
Yeah, I just wanted to say too, as well as like, it can still just be a hobby and be for fun. Like, you're getting out and meeting people. Like, that's good for your mental health anyway. Like, you might not get big, but, just it's good for your mental health to get out and about. And you're doing something that you love. And, as like you said before, you're inspiring people to either get into the business or... Yeah, because you had, there was one of your fans that he was just watching as a fan.
Shout out to referee Lachlan, aka
here we go.
Zach. Fucking name and shaming you. Biggest Crossfire mark I've ever met. I appreciate you very greatly, my friend.
And, now he's a ref, and then he might even get into wrestling too.
Fucking great referee too. I don't want him to stop reffing because he's so good. But, I do look forward, though, to hopefully see him in the ring. We've got 3 questions left. We're just shy of 2 hours. I've got to leave for work in an hour, so hopefully we can finish this within at least half an hour so I can get ready. But Margie asks, shout out to Margie, one of the absolute fucking OGs, one of the 2 or 3 people that, actually stuck by me through high school and still are now. What is my favorite Eddie Guerrero match? Well, Margie, Margaret, I will name and shame you. If you listened to episode 10, Viva La Eddie, where I count down the top 10 matches being unbiased of Eddie's career, you would have known that I mentioned in that match that the match that coincidentally, by pure coincidence, was number 1 because everyone else loves it as well, is Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio at Halloween Havoc 1997. Yes. Go listen to that episode. Mrs. Crossfire hasn't got there yet. She's only at number 7. Shh, I'm calling you out. I lied. This is a shoot podcast.
Hey,
calling you out.
I listened to the one with me in episode 18.
You just listen to yourself. You're becoming a mark. You've got an ego.
No, I like the sound of my own voice. What can I say? That's why these podcasts are going for so long because I'm talking so damn much.
What's your favorite Eddie Guerrero match, my love?
It's hard to say.
Or one that stands out just by
just from memory, because it's like he's one up there as one of my favorite wrestlers, but it's just he's not number 1 for me. But it was mainly, it's not really more of a match, it's more of the feud between Eddie and Ray. Just the feud in general between those two. It was just, they had that really good chemistry. And it was when they were tag team champions.
So you're referring to 2005 Eddie and Ray, obviously not the one I was talking about where they were tag team champs and then they broke up and then Eddie revealed a secret and he was Dominic's father. He's not actually Dominic's father, but led to the ladder match, the custody of Dominic ladder match. If only all court battles were that simple.
Yeah, so it's that's what sticks out to me is that feud.
So
it was
Eddie versus really Ray just in general.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. Phil asks, in response to last week's King of the Ring countdown and the whole what if Triple H had have actually won in 1996, obviously he was meant to win. the curtain call happened. I've explained that to you.
Yes, we
Hall and
watched
Nash
a bit
were
about
leaving.
it.
Oh, that's right. We watched a Nash documentary where they went into it.
Yeah.
But had that not have happened and Triple H had have won a year prior, would the Attitude Era still been born? Short answer, I say yes. I still think because Stone Cold was still being Stone Cold. Shawn Michaels was still a fucking drugged up prima donna at the time. And I think even without that incident happening, obviously, Nash and Hall, they still left. They still went to NWO. So I think with the balls that Hunter, Triple H, and Shawn had, DX still would have been a thing. NWO still would happen in WCW. You could have argued that with Stone Cold cutting the Austin 316 promo, that he wouldn't have been as big and WCW would have won. But I still think 100% the Attitude Era still happens. It just kind of, I still think they would have brought in Mike Tyson at WrestleMania 14. It still would have got more edgy, but I feel like it kind of just would have fizzled out, similar to how ECW did in the later days. But do you think that happens? I
feel the same.
Because it was going
we had a bit of a discussion about it when we watched that.
Real tits and ass, swearing for the sake of swearing. I still think it would have gone down that route.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
And the final question, shout out to Nick Maltino. This wasn't even planned to be the last question. As I said,
We've left the most important person for last.
What is it that I like about wrestling? God damn, we're about to get even more deep here. I gotta start getting ready for work in 20 minutes.
Do we just text your boss now and say you're not coming in, or what?
No, but I'll rank it short, in short form. I go, in order of me liking it, it's the drama, the moves, the outfits, the outright atmosphere, and then it's probably the most important aspect in a way of wrestling, but lastly is the storylines. As cheesy as they can be, for those young wrestlers out there, though, notice that I did mention drama and storylines separate because there is still there's a big difference between telling a story in an actual match than the storyline itself. And I think that's what gets me. The drama of I'll take a 3.5-star match that takes me on an emotional roller coaster over a 5-star match with all the fucking flips and tricks and yada, yada, yada. That was just a sidebar. But ultimately, though, and as I said, we'll wind down now on the final question. This is a great question to end on, but I think just the story and the drama of the match is as I mentioned before, being able, being bullied as a kid and being able to come home and put on some form of wrestling and just listen to the voice of Jim Ross and all my troubles just fucking poof for that, couple of hours just disappearing. And alternatively, I remember coming back to English, right? I come home after getting a grade for one of my creative writings and I fucking smashed it out of the park. I got one of the top ranks in the class and I was like, fuck yes. And I came home and I watched wrestling and I just unwound and was like, life's good. But it just the story and just the emotion that comes out of why does, basically comes down to the psychology of, why the person would do that. Especially Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels would be a good example. Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair. I know Ric Flair is very controversial at the moment, but I'm sorry. I love you.
Yeah.
That is so fucking iconic. He didn't want to retire Ric Flair, but at the same time, it's WrestleMania. You need that win. I fucking love wrestling. Why is it that you like professional wrestling? Because this could be almost an entire podcast episode.
Yeah, we could literally talk about this all day. But literally, so going back to being a small child and liking wrestling, for me, it was watching the flippy shit, a bit of a spot monkey when I was younger. And it was the outfits, they were all intriguing. It was really interesting as a child. But now, watching it with you and watching it more as not a fan anymore, but watching it more as a...
I turned you into a smart mark.
You're a smart mark.
You're a smart.
Yeah, but being a smart mark now...
You're a smart.
Shut up. But yeah, going into it, it's seeing the psychology side of things. I'm just mad on psychology, mental health, all that in general. So it's just seeing the psychology of how the matches are put together and stuff's just so intriguing. And as well as seeing the different styles. Because see, when I was younger, it was just I liked the lucha stuff. I liked the flippy stuff because being a kid, it was like, wow, that's cool. He did a backflip.
Oh, the flips and tricks.
Oh my God, yeah. Like, he did a Spanish fly. Hell yeah. But it's like now it's kind of like...
Destroyer!
But it's like, yeah, now you look at it, it's like, now I'm older, I'm kind of liking the technical stuff. I'm really loving UK. And I'm like, I feel like they're the things that kind of make me like it. It's like... It's just now, it's like, for me, it's the psychology and it's looking deeper into the wrestling, like, the whole thing.
I have created a monster. We documented this on the last episode, but we'll preface this question or, drive the point of this question home by saying, I created a monster.
I already had that little bit of knowledge there, like that little bit, and it was just like watching it as a kid and stuff. Like, as a kid, I didn't understand the psychology of things either. I was just like, and I didn't know the heel and face dynamic. My older brother did and tried to explain it to me, but I was just so confused because it was just like, why are they saying that Kurt Angle sucks?
Like, the amount of people these days that are like, oh, WWE being PJ stupid, we need blood. And, like, you watch AEW and people are blading left, right, and center. It's like, no. Yeah. If I'm watching Shawn Michaels and Triple H, these two former best friends, and they're in a Hell in a Cell for 40 fucking minutes, and neither man can stand, and they're bleeding, and then finally Triple H gets the win, and you're like, God damn it, I needed Shawn to win, but that was his last shot, and now the villain reigns supreme, and I hate my life. It's like, that is emotion that, like, you can't duplicate that. Like, movies and TV, they try, but wrestling, like, because, like, that's why I love about sports entertainment is that you take all of the drama and you add the competitive side of it, and it's fucking magic. And it comes back to, the question that Ash asked earlier, like, what would you recommend if a person watched? Everything! Just take it all in.
Yeah. And it's hard too, because when I was younger, like, the only way my brother could get through to me was like, oh, yeah, like, it's scripted, it's fake. And then that turned me off when I was little and I didn't see any more past that and it ruined it for me. But now, like, I look at it and I'm like, you can't fake these emotions. People really get injured. It seems scripted, but a lot of the time it's not. And a lot of stuff comes up on the fly.
Well, even just,
as people say.
Just recently, CM Punk's return, there was a guy in the fan, there was a fan in the crowd, and he was caught on camera bawling his eyes out. And people were making fun of him. And it's like, no, this dude, like, you don't know what he was going through in his life, back when CM Punk was at his peak, right? So, like, here we are 7 years later. Like, I talked about this in the King of the Ring watch-along I did last week. Obviously, I did it at, like, fucking 2 a.m., so you were sleeping. But Kurt Angle, right, he had all the drug issues and whatever.
Yeah.
He made his way back to WWE. He gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, and then the next night at WrestleMania, they give them one last hurrah where they announce the whole thing, and it's give them an applause sort of thing. Kurt Angle just standing on the stage at a WWE event, I was just fucking bawling because it's like, that man right there has been in so many good moments in my childhood, into my teens, and then he fell off sort of thing, like, as I became an adult because of, the substance abuse issues, and then see him come back from that and, like, get his moment and go into the Hall of Fame, and then, even though Baron Corbin was the one that retired him, having one last run in the WWE, it's just like, that pulled all the emotions out of me. It's like, it's nostalgia. Sure, nostalgia's there, but it's like, it's everything coming back, just being pushed together sort of thing.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I love about wrestling is, like, it's just...
drama. The drama, the psychology of everything, I guess, is the short answer.
Yeah, and it brings people together. It really does. It brings people together, and, like, they can kind of, like, relate to these different matches and stuff like that. They can kind of relate to some of the wrestlers and stuff and the pain that they're going through. Like, a lot of them get injured, and that's when their mental health goes down, is because they're injured. They can't do what they love anymore and stuff like that.
Well, that's kind of what happens to Kurt, like, pain pills. And it's as a thing that's happened to a lot of wrestlers, like even Eddie, right? He had a car accident, and, he overcome that, but it came back to haunt him later on in life because his heart was still kind of, he had a pre-existing condition, but the drug abuse years before that worsened it. But that is going to bring us to a close, because otherwise
Yeah, I
It's
could
gonna
keep
be
talking
like
about this. Like, I want to go back
3
into...
more hours, and I'm not going to be at work, and I'm going to be getting messages from my boss. But thank you all for listening. Thank you again to Mrs. Crossfire. Like, we've actually followed the notes without going off track too much this time, and we still talked just on 2 hours. So I'm chalking up that to a win. The song of the week this week, again, was People Are Crazy by Billy Currington. The match of the week, again, blame Mrs. Crossfire. DDP versus Goldberg at Halloween Havoc 1998. Remind me later to show you that match.
Yep, yeah.
Remember to check out the links in the description below for all my social medias, plus my merch. Buy my t-shirt so I can buy tacos and Mrs. Crossfire tacos. That's the more important part. Happy wife, happy life. Remember to reach out with part of the Tag Me In initiative, or just in general, if people, if you or someone you love is struggling with mental health. Thank you again for listening. You have been caught
in conversation.
Boom!